This is a story about a lonely traveler who once upon a time found himself stranded in a strange forest. How the traveler got there and who he was before this story is not for us to tell. Even his name is lost to the mists of time. But know that he was a good man and an innocent man, and maybe he also trusted too easily because everything that happened to him could have been avoided. At the mysterious beginning of our traveler's story, he became lost in a dark forest. He wandered for several miles through the trees, hungry and cold and tired. Night would fall soon, and he knew he needed shelter. But although he kept trudging on, there was no aid or comfort to be found in those woods. Until suddenly, through the leaves, he caught sight of something at last. And what did he see? A great dark mansion rising up in the gloomy light like a hulking beast. There were no other houses anywhere in sight. Like our unfortunate traveler, the house was completely alone in the forest. This poor traveler was so hungry and cold and tired, and so foolishly trusting, that he went up to the mansion and knocked on the door. As you might expect, no one answered. But then the traveler, out of sheer desperation, tried the doorknob, and the door swung open for him. The poor man was so dazed and delirious that he didn't stop to think that this was thoroughly unnatural. Or maybe, in truth, with the woods rapidly darkening, he was too afraid to stay outside. What he didn't realize was that the inside of the house was far more frightening than the outside. He found himself in a grand and elegant entry hall with a beautiful staircase rising up to a dimly lit second floor. To one side was a mirror, and the traveler paused to look at his reflection. But what he saw instead was that the mirror was strangely warped. Was that his reflection in the mirror, or was it something else entirely? The traveler didn't let himself think about it. Instead, he went into the first room he saw after the mirror. And what did he see? A beautiful table adorned in blood-red roses, all laid out for a formal dinner. Curiously, to one side, he found what looked like a wedding cake, again decorated in blood-red roses. But it looked like this cake had been here for ages. Far away, it was a decorative work of art. Up close, spiderwebs and mold and all manner of filth. It was enough to make him shudder and think better of taking a piece, no matter how much his stomach cried out for food. He decided to move on to the next room. And here, he found a kitchen. Surely there would be something he could eat here. Surely the owner of the house wouldn't mind if a poor lost soul took a few crumbs for sustenance. But as the traveler gazed around, he realized something about the kitchen was off. Why, for instance, were there skulls in the cabinets? Why were the countertops covered in dust and grit as if no one had used them in a long time? What was inside this refrigerator? Were these blood bags? The traveler hurried out of the kitchen. Maybe he could wait to eat after all. The next room he found, behind the stairs, was a bathroom. It had the same abandoned air as the other two rooms he'd explored so far. At this point, the traveler realized he was fading fast. More than food, he needed rest. He looked at the staircase again and thought there might be bedrooms upstairs where he could sleep. Really, he wasn't thinking very clearly at this point, and, as we've said before, he was much too trusting. But when you've been lost and alone for hours in a dark and spooky forest, it can be hard to stay focused. Sadly, as we'll see, moments like that are when you most need your focus, because your very survival can depend on it. So up the stairs our traveler climbed, and he went into the first set of doors he saw. Yes, it was a bedroom. There was a lovely four-poster bed, and everything was decorated in the utmost good taste, as if for an elegant and refined lady. There was even an attached bathroom, all the convenience one could ask for. But just then, our poor traveler spotted a cradle in the corner, an empty cradle, cold and empty. And above the cradle, there hung a baby mobile, which seemed to turn continuously without any cause. No, this doesn't feel right, the traveler thought to himself. In fact, this feels awful. I can't possibly stay here. Hurriedly, he left the room. If only he'd kept listening to that instinct and left the house entirely. But no, instead, he went across the landing area to another door, and behind this door, he found another bedroom. Carefully, the traveler inspected the room. Another four-poster bed, this time draped in bold red materials. There was a dresser carved out of ebony, and didn't the shape of it remind the traveler of something? But he couldn't think what exactly. His mind was so tired, so foggy from all the stresses and fears of his journey. He just couldn't concentrate. The bed beckoned to him. It was all he could do to stay on his feet as he finally trudged over to it and collapsed in a heap. He immediately fell into a deep sleep. His last coherent thought before the darkness closed over him was that if the owner of the mansion came home, he hoped whoever it was would be kind and understanding about all of his troubles. Now, who is the owner of this house? This is another sad story which is not ours to tell, but perhaps you'll come to understand once we peek in on this scene. Who are these people? They look very strange. There is a girl, but she doesn't look quite right. Something odd about her coloring and the way she moves and the clothes she's wearing. And there is a woman, but something feels even more odd about her. Look at her hair and her gown. She must be very beautiful, but for some reason, she won't show us her face. Not yet. Not at this point in the story. But it seems that the girl and the woman are speaking together. If you pay attention, you might see that the girl is actually being instructed to do something. The woman is giving her a task to complete. But what is that mysterious task? And why do I have a suspicion that nothing good will come of it? Let's check in on our sleeping traveler. He's suddenly been awakened by something. A bad dream? It's perhaps no surprise that sleeping in a house like this could be disturbing to one's dreams. But he seems to have seen something he can't quite believe. It's the girl, the little girl we saw earlier, receiving her unknown instructions from the lady. The traveler seems to still be half asleep, half dreaming. He's almost bewitched. He's following the girl downstairs. In the grand entry hall, she goes through another doorway into a room the traveler hasn't yet seen. It's a formal parlor, furnished and decorated in the same sort of tasteful yet old-fashioned pieces as the rest of the house. There are sofas for sitting, and a grim-looking fireplace, a chess table, and a grand piano. The traveler can almost hear the faint strains of music, echoes of the waltzes and concertos and fugues which must have filled this room in some long-ago time. The little girl is still moving, however, so he doesn't pause to listen. Instead, poor, foolish man, he follows her across another threshold, where he finds himself in a library. What's this? The books are floating from the shelves. Somewhere in the dim recesses of the traveler's mind, where a part of him is watching himself in horror as he follows the girl through the house, somewhere in that distant part of his mind, he recognizes that this should not be possible. But what can he do? He's no longer in control of his own body. Suddenly, one of the bookcases swings away, and the traveler realizes it's not a bookcase, it's a door. A secret door, going who knows where. The girl goes through it. The traveler follows. Behind the secret bookcase door is another set of stairs. These are nowhere near as grand and magnificent as the stairs in the entry hall. And what does he see on the walls? Ragged curtains and... are these scratch marks? The girl continues climbing and the poor traveler has no choice but to go after her. They climb one flight of stairs. Here, the traveler thinks, is the floor with the bedrooms. But from this stairwell, there is no way to access that other landing area. The girl doesn't stop. There is another flight of stairs going up to a third floor. The traveler, once again, follows. And here at the top of the stairs is a set of doors. Suddenly, the girl disappears. The traveler looks around for her, but she's vanished into thin air. Her mysterious task is complete. The traveler steps forward, thinking to knock on these doors like he knocked on the front doors to the house what feels like centuries ago. But like those front doors, these doors swing open as soon as he comes close. Just beyond them is a wall of candles, and just beyond that wall, it's the lady. She's waiting for the traveler. Finally, we can see her face. And as we thought, she is indeed beautiful, but it's a cold, dark beauty she possesses. Like everything in this house, there's something not quite right about her. Something in the eyes, something in her teeth? The traveler walks toward her, helpless. There is now no hope of escape. "I've been waiting for you," the lady says. "I've been so alone. I am a bride without a husband, but now you've finally arrived." The traveler is completely under her spell. Later, the bride watches her groom sleep in this bed shaped like a coffin. It's his last sleep as a mortal man. For when he wakes, he will be changed. When he looks in the mirror, he will no longer see his own face, or even any face looking back at him. He will have no reflection at all. And he won't be able to leave the house during the daytime. Only under cover of dark will he be able to go out into the forest again. And there he will wait. He will wait for the next lonely and unsuspecting traveler to lose themselves in the trees. The next unfortunate soul to seek shelter from the only house for miles around, too tired to understand that they have actually arrived at their doom.